It's National Fire Safety Month. Find out how you can be better prepared with a fire safety expert. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Myrtle Beach Herald. We're focused on National Fire Safety Month, and we're visiting with a fire safety expert, Gary Teachout of Myrtle Beach Fire and Safety. Good morning, Gary.
Well, good morning.
Thank you so much for coming in.
It's a pleasure being here. We appreciate the invitation and to get the word out about fire safety because it is, as you mentioned, Fire Safety Month.
The great thing about getting you in is obviously that aspect of, the bulk of our viewers are in the PD in southeastern North Carolina. Less than a third of them are here, but National Fire Safety Month affects everybody.
Absolutely. It really
everybody.
Does. That's correct. And we literally, it's our mission. We're a private company, not to be confused with Myrtle Beach Fire Department. We're Myrtle Beach Fire and Safety. But we literally want to save lives, and that's our mission.
Mm-hmm. Like a lifeguard.
Virtually like a lifeguard, that's correct. It's, and sometimes we talk about ourselves almost being an abstract situation. People don't jump up in the morning and say, I'm going to go buy a fire extinguisher or things of that nature. A business, a restaurant, things of those types of businesses are demanded by law to have them, but the actual individuals generally don't. The vast majority of homes do not have a fire extinguisher, and it's sad. And perhaps in years to come it will be just like a smoke detector. They'll be mandated when you build a new home, you should have a fire extinguisher.
Now, Gary, for viewers who live in apartment complexes or rental units are all required, or would the property managers be required to have fire safety devices?
Yes and no. It's a gray area, quite frankly, depending on the jurisdiction. Some management companies, because of the liability issue, they will demand to have a fire extinguisher within the unit. If it's a condo, if it's a common area, then they are required to have a fire extinguisher. But yet sometimes they're grandfathered in, so if the unit was built 15, 20 years ago, they don't have it. New facilities do have to have a fire extinguisher in the hallway, or what we call a common area.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. Gary, real quick, for viewers who may not have met you here in town or seen you on TV or otherwise, are you originally from the area?
No, originally from upstate New York. I was born in Syracuse, New York. However, a lot of my life was spent up in Canada. I own several businesses up in Canada.
Really? What part?
Near Toronto. Specifically, it was Kitchener, Waterloo, Elmira, and not too far from Niagara Falls.
Right. And so when you talk about being from upstate New York, are you talking about the Niagara Falls area?
Close to that. We're a couple hours away, right? Actually, the crossroads of New York. Years and years ago, the Erie Canal went through Syracuse, actually up the Hudson River to Albany, then did a left-hand turn through Syracuse, Rochester, over to Buffalo.
Right, sure, Buffalo, that's a great area.
It surely is.
Yeah, my first girlfriend was in Buffalo, so I know that area very well. Real quick about, when you think about, so many folks will head from Canada south as opposed to the other way around. What prompted you to move in that avenue?
Actually, I went to university down here in South Carolina, and that was back in the mid-'60s, and so I was here for several years after even graduating. And after that time, because of business, I went back to Canada and owned several businesses up there, as I mentioned. But it was always a lure to come back to South Carolina, not just saying it, but the culture. I adore the culture, the way of life, and the climate, quite frankly. And it was 1991 when I actually returned, and I was driving down it's called the QEW, which is the Queensway, which is like an interstate. And I think I used about 2 gallons of that blue stuff in my windshield wipers, and I said, enough is enough. And this is about March or April. I said, I want to put sand in my toes.
Yeah.
So I decided at that point to come south, and because of my connections and friends down here, it's the best decision I ever made.
Have you been able to encourage any of the family in upstate New York to head down this way, or have they all migrated to other areas?
We've invited them. I have a brother in Atlanta, but my mom, because of she's elderly, and of course friends and things like that, we'd love to have her come down, and my brother is kind of, he wants to stay in Syracuse, but I wish we could get him down. I always joke that as perhaps another profession, I could work for the Chamber of Commerce. I love it so much. I truly love Myrtle Beach.
That is fantastic. I was at a chamber luncheon last Thursday honoring the Volunteer of the Year. A week ago today, the Volunteer of the Year from the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce. You see so many folks out and to recognize that the chamber activities really are just bringing folks to the area and
Absolutely.
constantly growing businesses.
And they do a fantastic job.
They do.
I talk to other chambers across the United States, and I've mentioned to the chamber that they do a truly job because a fantastic job, and it helps my business out, quite frankly. And just it's a domino effect, and they're just so professional and just dear folks. And Brad Dean is doing a fantastic job.
Brad's amazing.
He had some big shoes to fill. I mean, everyone loved and adored Ashby Ward.
Oh yeah.
And but Brad is doing a fantastic job.
Gary, of course, benefit of television is you can both see and hear somebody, but there would be a benefit for you on the radio. Have you ever been told you've got an amazing voice? What's the deal with the voice? Have you ever been on the radio?
No, never actually. In fact, just speaking of the chamber, I was talking to Pat Creed, just a dear friend and employee there, been there for years, and she said, "I just love your voice."
Yeah.
And but no, I haven't been on radio. However, I have virtually trained myself. I love enunciation.
Yeah.
I love to get points across. I like to be authoritative in a good way. And it's just my way of good communication.
Wow. Well, that's probably helped with your Sunrise Rotary on Tuesday mornings.
Oh, yes.
At
Thank you.
Vidalia's. That is
Yes.
You're the president of Sunrise Rotary.
That's great. I'm very honored to be president of the Rotary Club. I'm sure you're familiar with the largest organization, the service organization in the world, with 1.2 million members.
1.2 million?
1.2. In fact, in your newspaper, every week we have a little invitation, and it says, "How would you like 1.2 million new friends?" Wow. And we run that weekly in the Myrtle Beach Herald. But we're in 120 countries across the world, and I'm just privileged to be part of the organization. We do works in the community. One of our major works, in the springtime, we take hundreds of children up to Charlotte, North Carolina, to Discovery Place so they can get away. And then reciprocally, we bring hundreds of children, at another date, we bring hundreds of kids down to the beach. We have beach activities, and we spend the day, and we pay all of their transportation, of course, and then we have a dictionary project. But Rotary as a whole, we have literally virtually eradicated polio, and we're so proud to be a part of that.
Really?
And we literally have. And
so working with the March of Dimes, or
no, independently,
entirely separate?
Totally separately. In fact, we work with the Bill Gates Foundation with matching funds, and it's taken almost 10 years, but with vaccinations and inoculations, virtually eradicated polio.
Well, you're talking about worldwide.
Worldwide.
Right. Of course, the March of Dimes' big focus was in the U.S., but surely working with the Gates Foundation must be superb.
He's a wonderful, fantastic
That's with Rotary International.
That's correct, Rotary International out of Chicago, Illinois. In fact, this is our 100th anniversary, and I'm privileged to be the centennial president.
Yeah.
And we have many festivities planned for this coming year. Mainly, I believe it's February 23rd, which is the 100th exact day of the inception. And every Rotarian across the world will meet and raise a glass to honor Rotary, and that'll be 1 o'clock Eastern time. Mm-hmm. But all 24 time zones will be toasting Rotary for the work they've done for these past 100 years.
Wow. How exciting, Gary.
It really is.
That must be thrilling for all the Rotary presidents as well as so many of the Rotarians. Yes. You said 1.2 million. 1.2
million. We have several clubs in this area. We have the Chicora Club, excuse me, and the Little River Club, Surfside, Merle's Inlet, and so on, a couple in Conway. Right. And, of course, as president of the Sunrise Club, we love the proximity factor. We're close right to the downtown area. Meet at Vidalia's restaurant, as you mentioned.
Yes.
And it's a breakfast club because at noontime it's difficult to know where I'm going to be.
Oh, yeah.
But at least you can start your day at, it's from 7:30 until 8:29. Right. And we're looking for new members who want to serve. And our slogan is service above self. Service above self. And that's so important. And we just, we're a professional organization. We have doctors and lawyers in every walk of life and bank presidents. And we feel blessed. And it's our way to give back with a minimum of time because we're all busy. Right, sure. But it's a vehicle to be able to do this. Now, you wonder, chicken and egg, was it the Rotary Club that got you active in Myrtle Beach Fire and Safety, or was it the other way around? Because it sounds like your job is service above self. I mean, truly. Actually, Myrtle Beach Fire and Safety came first, and a dear friend, Bobby Gale, who owns Bobby Gale Chrysler dealership, invited me into the club, and I was just honored and privileged that he would nominate me to do so. Yeah. And I went through the ranks of the club, and so my gratitude goes to Bobby. In fact, at my induction he was there for that, and I truly appreciate that.
That's great. Bobby's a great guy.
Oh, yes.
He's really active at the American Heart Association's Horseback Ride-a-thon.
Right.
Just gave us $7,000 as a big sponsor of that event. His wife, Lori, you know, is real active with Heavenscape Stables and all the horses they have. So we, the Heart Association, truly has a love for Bobby, both of his dealerships and his whole family. They've been amazing.
Also with his involvement with Rotary, I mean, he has given us funds for the things that I mentioned, the trips to Charlotte and whatnot. Bobby's a sponsor of that.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I know he's real active in the Boy Scouts, obviously, with his children, and I did not know that.
Oh, yes, and also being part of the fire aspect, he purchased a trailer that the Myrtle Beach Fire Department uses for demonstration.
Really?
So he donated that, and so as they take it onto a location, you can walk through for the children and show everything, how to escape from a building and different things that are available, and Bobby donated that. So,
well, this sounds like a commercial week. You know, on Monday I had Jennifer Walters from the American Cancer Society in here, and we were talking about Tanger factory outlets this weekend. On Saturday, they're donating 1% of all their sales to the American Cancer Society. And on Sunday, they're having a big super supper, the 9th annual. Obviously, we're pumping up Bobby Gale, and indirectly, we're pumping up Myrtle Beach Fire and Safety, but so much of our focus is on, obviously, a big, big month, and so much of an impact. As you said, it's kind of like, you know, an accident has to happen before you get serious and do things. And I'm sure in your industry, a fire or the fear of a fire has to happen before people get really serious about changing their lives.
The statistics are really staggering, and everyone, it's a human nature. It's not going to happen to me. It's like an auto accident, and we know statistics there. But yet when you talk to people, it's amazing the high percentage of people that have been involved in a fire. And quite frankly, 20% of all fires are in vehicles. And here again, a commercial vehicle has to have a fire extinguisher by law, but obviously there's more cars than trucks, and they don't have to have it. And we recommend, we recommend that there should be an extinguisher in a vehicle. We can tell you war stories of tragedies that have happened if only they would have had a fire extinguisher.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't take it seriously. So it's, until legislation, people are people, and they need to be prodded. And we're not salesmen. In fact, when we go to a facility, we give them the options, the legalities and whatnot if it's a business, but we kind of take a step back and we say, we're not a salesman. We'll do exactly what you tell us to do, but we're here to save your life and your property. Because some people, they'll just kind of flippantly say, oh, I'll just run out of the house. But what if indeed it is a small fire and they're able to put it out? Because response time, we'll say in an area like Horry County, they don't have the coverage of Myrtle Beach, the city of Myrtle Beach. And so it's important that they have fire extinguishers.
Oh, very definitely. And of course, you mentioned in a car, where's the most probable place that someone would want to keep their extinguisher? I guess right up by their side or down below the seat?
It depends on the vehicle, quite frankly. The number one most important thing, it has to be anchored securely, because realistically, it could become a missile if it weren't, if it wasn't secured, anchored. Now, if it's a minivan, there's areas you have more of an open area to do it. Quite frankly, a car, we recommend that be in the trunk.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah. And if you want to keep it out of where someone's going to trip over or something, generally in the car you don't have a space to put it, so we recommend it be in the trunk.
And if the engine caught fire, to quickly jump out and undo the trunk. And,
absolutely, it's advanced, knowledge to. I'm a pilot. And we always say before you use this, you use this. So that's why we teach in fire and safety as we talk to children and or adults to have a plan. Because, good or bad analogy, an auto accident, things happen within 0 to 1 or 2 seconds.
Right.
In a plane, we have several minutes sometimes to plan what we're going to do if there was an emergency. Same with the fire. Time is to some degree on your side. So we try to train people so they can act accordingly. We don't want to make them heroes and run into a burning building by any stretch. We've had people die running back to find a fire extinguisher to help put the fire out. That's a no-no. But there are things that, but just the very location of a fire extinguisher, and if it's a rental unit, as an example, or someone visiting, generally, people don't like a nice bright red fire extinguisher in their
living room,
$5,000 kitchen, new cupboards or something. But we recommend, quite frankly, that it be in a laundry room.
Right.
The reason being, a lot of people put it beneath the sink, behind the Clorox bottle. Well, most kitchens in this area, quite frankly, are galley kitchens. They're small, and if there's a fire, it's going to be near a stove. Well, we don't want you racing through a wall of flames to get to the fire, and then it's anchored and they're going through trying to find it.
Yeah.
But we like it in the laundry room, generally about 48 inches tall, being able to know where it is to extinguish the fire.
I just thought of that, Gary. Yeah, mine's in the below the sink, but of course I've got that thing on there so my daughter can't get in there, which is even worse. You know, the child-proof thing, so she can't get in there. So that I can't imagine trying to get to that in a fire.
And when you mention a child, there's that propensity point of when a child should use a fire extinguisher. We normally talk around 10, 12 years old, years of age, because you could have a mature 10-year-old and one that's not. But again, we train them only if they feel they can have a point of egress. In other words, being able to get away from the fire. To make sure they're, as I say, between the fire and the point of exit. And not to be a fireman. There's trained professionals for that. We don't expect 12-year-olds to do it, but at least to have the working knowledge. And because they could save one of their youngsters' lives, so it's important. But another thing about homes, we talked about extinguishers, but another product that I joke insurance companies could give away and make money is a fire suppression system in their kitchen. And we sell many, many of these. However, in a kitchen, by law, you have to have a fire suppression system. Of course, you have the stainless steel hoods, and within that hood, we have pipes coming down, and a liquid comes out, not water, but a liquid, and it puts out the fire, and that nozzle is directly over the fryers and whatnot. Then also, after the liquid comes out, it turns the appliance off, be it gas or electric, and if you have an alarm system, ADT, it will contact the alarm company. So that's in kitchens, in restaurants. However, we have virtually the same device for a home, and they only run about $700. And the same exact thing, it goes beneath the exhaust hood. If there's a fire, it puts the fire out, it turns the appliance off, which is one of the most important things. And if you have an alarm system, it would contact the authorities.
Right. Wow. How invaluable. Gary, it's about 7:20. We got about 10 minutes. So I want to say, if a viewer needed to head out right now to get to school or get to work, what would be the best number to call to learn a little more about National Fire Safety Month, or to learn about the Sunrise Rotary? Is there a good number? Is that the 916-8787?
That's correct. Yeah, our office number. We'd be more than happy to give information and direct them in that regard. 916-8787. And we do have a website address and emails, mvfire9@cs.com, and answer any questions.
Sure.
We speak to civic groups at no charge. We've had Boy Scout groups, condominium groups and whatnot, trying to help them put a plan together, explaining how to use a fire extinguisher. It's amazing the number of even gentlemen who haven't used a fire extinguisher.
I don't think I know how to use it, Gary.
Now there's OSHA regulations where they indeed have to have training. So we'll go to a medical facility as one of the most prominent, and we'll get all the people and we'll walk through it. We call it the PASS syndrome, P-A-S-S. The P means pull the pin out.
Right.
The A is for aim. First S is squeeze, and then you sweep. P-A-S-S.
That's great.
And
break that down again real quick, Gary, because that's really important. I bet there are a ton of viewers that have never even touched their fire extinguisher.
They're afraid of them.
Sure.
They're really many
Probably
people.
afraid of them. Yeah. Go over that again real quick. That's great.
Number one, to know where the extinguisher is, as we mentioned.
Right.
Because we've even seen an extinguisher hung in a building, and they use it for a coat rack. So it's very important that you know where it is. Once you get the extinguisher, again, you want to be about, depending on the size of the fire, about 6 feet from the fire. But again, I stress, wherever the fire is, make sure you're between the fire and a point of how to get out.
And an exit.
Don't paint yourself in a corner.
Right.
So once you have the extinguisher, you feel you can, in a manageable way, put the fire out. You grasp the extinguisher, you pull that little pin.
So there's a pin on all extinguishers.
Yes, that keeps it from going off accidentally.
Right.
And there's generally a yellow piece of plastic which holds that pin in.
Right.
That little piece of plastic is strong enough to keep it in, but yet weak enough to be able to pull the pin out.
Right.
But when your adrenaline's running, you can usually you can pull it out and or twist that pin, but pull it out and just throw it down. So pull that pin. You aim at the base of the fire, not the flame, the base of the fire.
Great point.
Then you squeeze it all the way, and then sweep it back and forth. Just don't put all the powder into one section. Make sure you sweep. So pull, aim, squeeze, sweep.
These are so practical. I mean, when you think about that aspect, but like, for instance, going for the base.
Oh, yes.
That's something a lot of folks wouldn't think about because they see this huge thing right in front of them.
Right.
But going for the base is where it's all at.
If I could mention, too, about types of extinguishers. We all see nice little red extinguishers, but we have many, many types of extinguishers. And we do some of the major theaters, the Palace and Calvin Gilmore's facilities and whatnot. And when you have electronics involved and with so many computers, you should use a halotron extinguisher, which is virtually a gas, as opposed to the powder. The powder can actually do damage to electronics. So when you have a soundboard or something, you should, rather than use a powder extinguisher, a halotron. There's water extinguishers, or CO2s, there's various types. And we can explain all those various types.
Sure.
And it's important you have an extinguisher, but I really recommend you get a professional type because some are plastic head, and if you're going to buy it, get a good one, and the price is extremely competitive.
Absolutely. So. And I got to say, Gary, as you know, this is a non-commercial show. You
yes.
support your competitors just as, I mean, y'all are all lifeguards.
Oh, yes.
You're all working to promote National Fire Safety Month. And, and even though we're not giving their phone number out, there's still a lot of folks out there in the PD, southeastern North Carolina.
Oh, yes.
You just need to call your fire and safety company that's closest to you or the most dependable in the area. Of course, y'all constantly win that Best of the Beach here in Myrtle Beach. The Sun News recognizes y'all as their readers. Recognize you as absolutely the fire and safety company to turn to. So
yes, we're proud of that. So.
You'd be one to turn to here in this area, but in the PD or the southeastern North Carolina, or even other ones here in this area, y'all all want to promote National Fire Safety Month, National Fire Safety Month every month.
Absolutely. And we say, you know, as long as you have an extinguisher, you know, we don't care where you buy it, just buy it. But if you do, buy a good one.
Yeah.
And very, very important. And in your boats, I mean, by law, now, the smaller boats, there's a little bit of a borderline, but the larger boats, by law, you have to have it. And the Coast Guard will fine you if they find you don't have an extinguisher.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
So, and even you have to have an inspection tag on your fire extinguisher. If you're a business,
right.
Usually they'll warn you. If they come back, I think it's a $235 fine. So it's important you have it inspected annually if you have a business.
And who, you know, as a business person myself, who do I call upon folks like you to come in to inspect it, or do we get the fire department themselves to come in?
No, the fire department actually isn't qualified, and I say that. We're state licensed. We go by national codes. We actually inspect the fire departments. We inspect the lows.
Come on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They do not refill extinguishers. We refill the extinguishers for fire departments.
Really?
Absolutely. So they can give you a suggestion of what needs to be done, but a fire and safety company who's registered, bonded, licensed like us, we're the ones who do the extinguishers for the fire departments.
Well, now, Gary, who comes in to say, hey, Greg, your property has a little something off? That's not y'all. Isn't that the fire department?
That would indeed be the fire department. They come in and do an inspection by law.
Right.
And then if there's an issue, like an exit light needs a battery or bulb, the extinguisher service, then it's up to the individual to select which company they want.
Call a commercial company to come in.
Companies like Myrtle Beach Fire and Safety come in and then do the service necessary.
Gary, when we talked a few weeks ago, and I talked about come in, we talked about ISO ratings, and we've got 3 minutes. So, just if you, is it? I mean, it's vital to point out Myrtle Beach has some incredible ISO ratings.
It surely does.
And what is the ISO rating?
It's an insurance rating, and it ranks from 1 till 10. We joke in the middle of the desert, that's a 10. But the very possible best insurance rating is an ISO 1. And Myrtle Beach in past years was up to a 2, but in the last few months they've received an ISO 1 rating. Wow. That converts into dollars and cents, quite frankly, because it can lower your insurance rate. So you might want to check with your insurance carrier, and when it's time to renew, and say, Myrtle Beach, if you're in the city of Myrtle Beach, we now have an ISO 1, and it can reduce your insurance. So if you have an oceanfront hotel, it can literally turn into thousands of dollars of savings because of that rating. And again, I have to compliment the Myrtle Beach Fire Department because they just don't give that rating away. There's hundreds of qualifications to obtain that over a number of years. So they're to be congratulated on that ISO 1 rating.
Fire extinguishers we think of, obviously you're talking about exit lights. There's so many aspects of fire and safety. When we think about Fire and Safety Month, the key things for folks to think about, obviously you're talking about the past situation there, but what are some other things that a viewer really needs to be thinking about if we've got a viewer in Laurinburg or Lumberton at home, an 80-year-old, and they want to know, what do they need to be thinking about?
Smoke detectors. Smoke detectors have saved thousands and thousands of lives. There's no question about that. And thank goodness it is mandated for new home construction. But as they say, change your batteries at least twice a year, And with the time change, it's a good time we're coming up upon that time. Change the battery. Make sure it's a functional fire smoke detector. It very well can save your life.
That is very important. You know, so often the thing will be buzzing, and you take the battery out just to get it to stop. I bet that happens to everyone, not just me, Gary.
In the hotels, unfortunately, kids steal them to use that battery into their Walkman or something in games. So we do that. We check batteries to make sure they're operational, and if all possible, make sure your smoke detector is both battery operated and AC hardwired. Right. So if the electricity were to go out, it has a backup battery, or vice versa. So a dual system, which is required.
This is big stuff. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Gary Teachout coming up next. It's only a century of service for Rotary International, a century of service. The words are the same for firefighters and Rotarians: service over self. Service over self. It's been a lot more than a century that firefighters have been working hard to protect you, to protect me, to protect our business and our lives on a daily basis. Service over self. It's fire and safety companies or Rotarians working hard together. You can use that same phone number to learn about both. The Sunrise Rotary on Tuesdays from 7:30 to 8:29 at Vidalia's Restaurant. The number is 843-916-8787. There's a Rotary International somewhere close to you, whether you're in Laurinburg or Hartsville or Little River or Pawleys Island. There's a Rotary Club close by. There's also a fire issue close by, in your home, in your office. Take the time to learn. This is a perfect month to do it. Every month is Fire Safety Month, but call somebody to learn more.